previous 2 cycles of renewals, one occurred in May and one occurred in August. So both are viable options.
Cool.
Okay, is there a motion to direct the staff to prepare a ballot language for the January meeting regarding the cemetery millage renewal?
I move to direct staff to prepare ballot language for the cemetery millage renewal for the January meeting.
Support?
I'll support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, committee reports. We'll start with Planning Commission.
Okay, Planning Commission met via Zoom on September 28th. Big turnout, 27 total participants at the height of the meeting. Public comment was mainly focused on parking and entrance issues relative to 2 of the retail marijuana applicants that will be considered that night. And there were also a few neighbors near the proposed miniature golf course across the street from Township Hall. We had special approval use and site plan review for the following: Just Barnes, recreational marijuana retail business, which will be located on Blue Star Highway across the street from Overijssel Lumber at Just Barnes Drive. A second one was considered for Jars Holding, also a marijuana retail business on Blue Star Highway, just south of I-196 interchange. Both were considered and debated, and both were passed by 5-0 votes. There was also special approval use and site plan review for AIX Design / Mubloski, that's the owner's name, for a potential miniature golf facility at Blue Star Highway and Clearbrook Drive, across the street from here, and that was passed 5-0 as well. Then there was further discussion on the Planning Commission's goal to address attainable housing in the township and potential zoning audit of such, which could lead to ordinance changes on minimum home sizes and allowable secondary structures on lots. There was discussion on various process charts that the zoning administrator Wells had created a few months back that were now shared publicly and with the rest of the Planning Commission and are all on our website, and they're wonderful, and Mr. Graham knows. And then there was further master plan review discussion, talk of creating subcommittees to focus on Blue Star Highway, that's a typo, I wrote urban, the rural character of the township, and housing, and agriculture and nature. And we were requested by Chair Israel that every Planning Commission member volunteer to serve on at least one of these subcommittees, and also to submit to her each of our top 3 or 4 priorities for the master plan prior to the next meeting. And that next Planning Commission meeting will be on Monday, October 26th at 7 p.m. The agenda comes out next week. Trying to think what I'll report more when I know for sure. There are a couple issues on the agenda. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Road Commission, any news from the Road Commission?
Sure, I'm happy to. So Trustee Marcy and I both attended the kickoff meeting with the Township's engineering firm, Prine and Newhoff, to begin reviewing some of the data and starting to prepare the updated Township multi-year road plan that the Township Board authorized in July this year. Very excited to report that the engineers assigned to this task, they have statewide road maintenance experience. I believe both of them have experience working with MDOT, and the partnership with the Allegheny County Road Commission on this project continues to be really strong. So I'm excited to share that started, and we'll bring further updates to you all when available. I think it'd also be a good time to just share at this point, as you all probably noticed as you pulled in this morning, there is some road work, or excuse me, this evening, there is some road work taking place in the township this week. This work is associated with the township's resurfacing projects and will impact Sandbrook Lane, Whiteside Lane, Keppel Lane, 128th Avenue, Clearbrook Drive, and Clearbrook Court. If there are specific questions related to any of those, I'm happy to do the best I can, but they are anticipated to be done by the end of this week, weather permitting.
Thank you. Fire board.
September was a month above average call volume with 77 calls. Year to date is 640, 14% down compared to last year. EMS is 67% of the volume, and motor vehicle incidents are in the lower range for September. The boat has logged 18 calls for the year.
Thank you. Parks Commission, any news that we haven't heard?
You all have Jim Searing, the chairman of the Parks Commission report in front of you all. If you all haven't seen it as well, I'd like to point out there's also a very nice letter to the editor in this week's commercial record from the Parks Commission. Yes, it came out today, but yeah, for tomorrow's edition. I am happy to speak on any of the items on the report as well.
Okay. Cal Lake, nothing to report. Mr. Shippa, Emergency Services Committee.
Yes. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yep.
I gotta, thank you, I gotta say, it's very nice to come here, such a nice atmosphere. It's just enjoyable to be here.
You must be really bored.
I'm not bored whatsoever.
We haven't been here since
Oh,
March.
I
agree. I agree
It's
with
just like
you.
going out.
Fun.
Here we go. I'm not sure what I can do for you tonight. I know we come to, so I'll be here to answer questions about what you had to do about
Special Assessment District.
the Special Assessment District. I think I'll talk about that at the end just a little bit. I want to give you a little update of what's happened since we've had light ambulance come into play. Is that it's been working very well. And I listen to the scanner. If I hear sirens, I turn the scanner on. I can hear life ambulance now. When we worked with AMR, you couldn't hear them before. They had a special radio channel. You had to have a special radio to get all that, but now since I go over the county frequency. The fire departments that I've talked to, they're happy with them. The medics are doing well. They're finding where they have to go. And the nice thing about it, our response time is getting shorter. The reason for that is it would be automatically about 2 to 3 minutes less response time because if you call 911 when you're in the special district area, your call goes to 911, 911 comes back to the ambulance service. Before, when I worked for AMR, you called 911, it went to Allegan Central Dispatch, it went to AMR Dispatch, then they called us. Many times I was in the ambulance before we ever got the call because we heard the first responder get sent out. So, there is a natural response time savings. I listened to the radio the other day and I was very impressed with the medics. And what happened is that there was a priority 3 call in Lee Township. I heard the sirens again, so I turned the radio on. There was a priority 3 call in Lee Township. They sent the Fenville ambulance to that call. At that time, they called for backup for the Allegan ambulance to come to back up the Fenville system. In that moment of time, there was a priority 1 call at Blue Star and M89. Those 2 ambulances talked to one another, the crews did. 933 says, hey, we're closer to the priority 1. Why don't we take that, the backup truck, you go to Lee Township. They did it. They did what was best for the patients and everybody involved. When I worked, we were not allowed to interfere with the dispatch. And I actually got reprimanded a couple times because they considered me self-dispatch. But the system works. And I talked to the medics that were involved with that today at the hardware store in Finnville, and they said, yeah, they allow us, they want us, because we're here in the moment, in the area, we know who was closer, versus looking at a great big map up in Grand Rapids, the dispatcher deciding who should do what. So I was very impressed. It worked out very well. And again, overall, they're doing a good job from what you can see. Of course, it only started in August, but it gets done. I had questions about that call, about why things were dispatched the way they were, and then something that Life does right away, within 36 hours, I had me an email outlining my question, the answer to my question, and I got the audio from Allegan Central Dispatch, listening to everybody talking, within 36 hours. Before, it'd take 3 months, so that's a plus.
Accountability.
Yes. And now, the special assessment, why did we change ambulance services? Back in December, the new regional manager for AMR came into a meeting with a contract that was partially signed, and if you guys remember, we're waiting to sign that. He would not send it out. Back in December, at our board meeting in Finnville there, Mr. John Robbins, the new regional manager, came in and said, the contract that we have in front of us is null and void. We've been losing money for years here in the Finnville system. What I want to do is change this. I want $195,000 a year. We have been underfunded. That system has been underfunded for 23 and a half years, which we all knew that. And basically the assessment has been, and I'll just use round numbers, $70,000 a year. That's quite a jump from $70,000 to $195,000. What Mr. Robbins did, versus what all the other regional managers didn't do, is that Finnville system was included in the Holland system, so they couldn't see the loss. Mr. Robbins came in, not understanding the purpose of Finnville having AMR there, and I've talked to different supervisors over my 20 years, that Finnville is a buffer for Life ambulance to come, because now they're only 12 minutes from Holland City. And Holland City, on their capture rate in Holland City is 85% on payment, which is out of this world. You start getting south, it gets down to 40, 42%. So, Mr. Robbins didn't look at that, I don't believe. And along with raising the price to $195,000 for the first year, he also increased the transport rates. Number one, I look at here, he changed the transport rate of $16 a mile to $36.74, or $15.31 to $36.74. So every 10 miles, that's an additional $360. So you come from right here to Holland, you're talking just about $400 on top of your bill. He also took the basic life support, non-emergency transport. You just have the flu, you're not feeling well. He went from $439 for transport to $1,055. And I could go on how much he raised the price of transport. Basically what that adds up to is if you take the call volume, average for the last couple of years, multiply that by his new numbers versus what Life will charge you, and I'll tell you what those are in a minute, it's $1 million+ in savings by going with Life ambulance to the public. Okay? Life ambulance's non-emergency call is $529. A lot of difference.
Yeah.
$1,055. And it's that way all the way through it. Just a lot of savings. As we discuss this and talk to the different board members, and the nice thing about it, we call Mr. John Perkins, the operation manager of Life. Can you set up a time for us to meet with Mr. Mark Myers, the owner of the company? Hour and a half later, you get a call back. He says he'd like to. He has Thursday of this week or Monday of next week open. When would you like to meet?
Wow.
We've met with Mr. Myers multiple times and had face-to-face discussions, made decisions at the table, versus talking to a regional manager who might be able to make some decisions, but then's got to wait 3 weeks to get an answer. Mr. Myers was very cordial, very nice to talk with, and we made decisions right there at the table. And again, the overall cost of transports is why we went with Life. Another thing about Life, they have a Life Care Plus membership that is $49 for insured people, $79 for uninsured people. AMRs used to be $40, they raised it to $85. So there's another big savings.
Just the annual rate?
That's the annual rate. Have you signed up yet? I haven't. Anybody in the special district? I haven't.
I'm waiting for Life to serve north.
You won't go there.
AMR calls every week, and I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Coverage, the coverage for the Fenville system now, the ambulance comes out of Allegan City, Bloomingdale. If the system is really gone awry, they need help, they have ambulances in Kalamazoo. They're based in Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids. You had mentioned Grand Rapids earlier. They're working on the different points where would the ambulance sit for coverage for the area. It looks like Clyde Township Fire Department or Clyde Township City Hall. That's where the ambulance goes now, which is more general better for the whole system in more of an equal area, travel distance time. Lee Township is really benefiting because they always had to wait for somebody to come out of Holland if our truck was busy. Now they got a truck right there in Bloomingdale. And they moved that truck up closer if the Fenville system is being used, so they are benefiting as, response times are shorter. Gosh, I don't know. What else you want to know, you guys?
So the rest of the, members on the committee, the Emergency Services Committee, I assume they're of the same thinking as you are, just happy with the service, happy with how this is going?
Yes, we had our meeting in September, which only included the month of August, so there wasn't much there. They provided a nice report. We all got to get used to what that report looks like. And actually, John there said more calls here than what we expected already, which is good. But yeah, overall, everybody, actually there's a few questions about a call they had in Clyde Township or in Ganges Township, but again, within a matter of 24 to 36 hours, we all had an answer to that. He emailed everybody the answer, which is very good. I don't know what I could say more about why we chose Life over AMR, but if anybody that watches the video here later on, if they have questions you may have, then call me personally. I'll be glad to answer any questions that they have, explain, what we did, why we did it, and for those that don't know me, that they understand that I worked on that ambulance out of Fenville for 20 years. So if I make the reference to I know this or that, it's because I lived it for 20 years. So, okay.
Good news.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, Tony.
And you can get them on the internet. You can go to their website and sign up. I did that.
I've had people ask.
Okay, and you have these brochures right here in front of you.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I always have them. I carry them all over the place, so.
Well, you answered me promptly when I asked you.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right, okay. All right, guys, nothing else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And next would be the interurban board report. I think we have that in our packet on page 153. That their, ridership was down, obviously.
Yeah.
Of course. But, otherwise it's just a nice little report. Open board report. Will we start with Marcy?
Marcy has nothing.
Okay.
Although it's beautiful up north, but that's really good news. So,
I have nothing except gratitude to Mr. Graham for being so flexible in preparing this meeting, getting the room set up. It's a little bit different than the Zoom, but it sounds like at least November and December we will be able to continue to meet by Zoom. After that, we'll have to kind of play it by ear with what comes through on the legislation. And that's it.
I have nothing.
I have nothing.
I have one thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, it's because I feel like I've been doing this the last few months, but we've lost a lot of prominent Saugatuck Township residents this summer.
Oh, yeah.
And I just wanted the board to acknowledge and send our condolences and gratitude to Phil Quaddy's family. Phil was township manager, I think, for like 30 years. I don't have the exact number, but it was a long, long time. I got to know him even when I first moved here, so it's a shame he passed away. On the plus side, he made it to 90, which is good, and I just wanted to get that on the record.
Thank you. And, Ms. Aldridge?
I have nothing.
Nothing. That was pretty easy. And we can move right into the manager's report. We're going to be looking for a little feedback from us.
Absolutely, and then I have a few more announcement / reminder type items like normal. But absolutely, to start, you all can see in your packet, I have the next iteration of the progress tracker of all of your identified goals. I am happy to discuss individual progress in more detail if you all are interested, but just as a reminder, this is a pretty unscientific method I've been using to track them, but I call it my stoplight system. Green means go, yellow means slow, red means we're off the tracks. And following that, you also will see the next rendition of the ongoing projects list. We continue to have, upward of 30 plus projects going. We do continue to progress them at a pretty good rate. But just as a reminder, we do have a number of items on the table. And with that, I am actually very excited to share that I have begun discussions with a facilitator for this next year's goal-setting workshop. I'm very interested in getting a date set. As you all saw in the memo, I am going to pressure you all to take a look at your calendar tonight if we can and try to at least get one and maybe a backup date identified. The facilitator I've been working with, along with some of the timing of the upcoming election, as well as to try to be consistent and keep kind of a continuous cycle, is going to be the beginning of December. I'd like to propose, based on the feedback from the facilitator, one of the first 3 Saturdays in the month of December, so 12/12 was the facilitator's preferred choice, followed by 12/19, followed by 12/5. So I don't know if you all mind taking a look at your calendars quickly and seeing if we can get any of those nailed down. I am also communicating with the Saugatuck Douglas Library about potentially holding this workshop in their new space to show support. Obviously, with COVID and everyone's safety policies, we're trying to be very cautious and considerate when it comes to that. So, at least at this point, just want to share that is the goal at that point. And just in terms of next steps for this document, my plan at the January meeting, so after the completion of this year, is to give a brief annual report to you all to show you all the progress we made over the last year advancing these goals, and hopefully be able to make that in a format that you all can then use to discuss with all of your constituents and the residents. I don't know if anyone's comfortable giving any feedback on those dates right now, or if you'd prefer to follow up with me later, but primarily thinking a very similar format to last year, the morning hours of a Saturday, just recognizing that, it's work that we invest at that day that helps us for many years to come.
It's going to be a little less early, but I remember last time it was pretty early, wasn't it?
Sure.
Wasn't it like
We
8
did
or
8
something?
to noon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, 9.
That's a little hot, tight.
Okay.
I gotta walk the dog, all that.
9 to 1 works.
Yeah, Saturday.
Yeah.
I would really probably prefer the 12/5. Unfortunately, I don't have my calendar, but I don't think I have anything. It's just so busy.
I
Yeah,
know,
the earlier the better.
and that's partially why trying to get this locked in as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And that's what, my preference would be the 5th. I think the sooner
That's what I,
in the month, much better. 19th, I would say, no way.
right.
Okay.
I agree.
It's just because of proximity to weather.
Okay.
Even though we don't know how the holidays are gonna be celebrated this year, it's gonna be different, so that's
Right.
my feeling.
So do 12-12 and 12-5?
Yeah, 12-5
Either
would be,
side prefer.
but that's his least preferred. Right?
Well, we can,
Yeah.
we're gonna have some flexibility
Okay,
there.
good.
So,
Okay, yeah, I mean, the 5th would be best,
okay.
12th is,
This will be fine.
Also an option? Okay. I will follow up and see if we can get something confirmed, but I would encourage you, at least at this point, please block those, just so we can make sure we get that worked, and I'll follow up as quickly as I can to try to make sure, to get that a little bit more locked. Before I move on to my other updates, were there any questions or anything I can discuss in more detail regarding the goals and the progress tracker?
I love your progress tracker, that's great, I'm gonna save that and
Okay, well, thank you.
keep note of it.
The next so my next item is the next scheduled meeting of the Township Board is on November 11th. As you all know, that is Veterans Day, so that's a, office closure holiday per the Township's personnel policy. So just wanted to bring up, are you all still comfortable holding the meeting that evening? Would you prefer to reschedule? I have no issues continuing to plan for the meeting that evening. I more just want to make sure you all are aware of that and get some feedback from you all.
It doesn't bother me either, anything works.
Okay, so let's plan on keeping it on November 11th. Thank you. And then more of my announcement reminders type items. As a reminder, Fall 2020 Cleanup Day is going to be this Saturday. It was initially delayed due to the public health crisis. It is going to be hosted as normal on 63rd Street from 8 to 11 a.m. We are working with a new waste management company this year, and similar to some of the other things, we're going to see how it works and be able to go from there, but it is exciting to be able to share with our residents that we are able to do it, even though it was a little bit later this year. There also will be a few more safety precautions than in previous years. My understanding is we are going to be checking IDs, as well as only one person at a time will be allowed to unload their vehicles or drop off waste. Flower bulbs continue to be available for pickup here at the Township Hall for individuals to plant at the cemeteries. If you didn't see them sitting out front, the Township's really fortunate to have a number of people who take great pride in our cemeteries, as you all know. So this is a nice way to not only work with those individuals, but also for the Township to make an investment in the beautification of those properties. Next, the cemetery tree project that the Township approved in September. If you all remember, that's to remove some of those dangerous dead and or dying trees in the cemeteries. Is scheduled to begin on Monday the 19th. We already went over some road work. A segment of the bike trail north of the fire station is continuing to crumble. I know it's something we spoke in a bit of detail in several months ago. But because of safety reasons, it has been marked with orange cones. It is scheduled to be repaired this Friday, the 16th. If you all
They're
noticed,
working on it already.
yeah, they
were out there
they
today.
removed the crumbling asphalt already, and they're going to resurface that. Now, I will say that is just a Band-Aid fix. Long term, more than likely, there's going to need to be some re-engineering of that corner. Staff continue, and the Parks Commission continue to work with the Friends of the Blue Star Trail and the engineer that initially designed that project to try to see if there's any contributions we can get. But I would like to thank the Friends of the Blue Star Trail, because they are sharing in the costs of these emergency repairs as well. So that is very kind of them. And then lastly, reiterating what Treasurer Helmrich just mentioned, I'd also like to acknowledge that Mr. Phil Quaddy passed away last week. I've never met him personally, but knowing his lifelong public service and commitment to the township, I think it definitely deserves recognition, and our thoughts and prayers should be with his friends and family. But with that, I don't have any other items to report, but I am happy to answer questions about anything we haven't covered tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Any questions? Okay. We can move on to public comment.
Oh, no, I just turned off the mic.
Sorry,
Huge audience here.
We'll hear it.
Okay. It's fun to sit on someone else's meeting. Hear everything to talk about. My name is Toby Hutchins. I serve on the
and I prefer pictures. So I just want to kind of walk you through some of the spaces that we've got going on. When we passed this bond, bulk of the money was going towards the renovation of the high school. Many areas have been touched since the 70s. Just to walk you through all the pictures, the one in the upper left-hand corner is our new choir room. We have 2 choirs now at the high school, so enrollment in Fenville, I should mention this, is growing. This year we're up 25 students, and we actually just brought a couple in yesterday, so we're up by probably closer towards 27, 28 students, which is great. We were a little bit worried with COVID, what parents were going to choose to do, school of choice, whatever it may be. We noticed that we actually called as a district every single family, English speaking, Spanish speaking, before, this is probably July, August, to identify what they were going to do. And we did find a lot of them were choosing online, virtual, like charter schools, which was encouraging. Many students were leaving state, so on and so forth, but enrollment is up, which is a good thing for us. 77% of our students are taking school in person, 23% virtually, also just fun little fact. So new choir room, 2 choirs, they needed their own space, we built it for them. New bus garage, if you've ever been on our campus before, that old bus garage was an eyesore, so we built a new one to the north of our campus. It's heated, just that building needed to be redone, and so we put the money towards that. The football field, we were originally going to build to the field that we have north of the school of cornfield, but cost prohibitions forced us to completely redo the field that we had that's on the west side of our campus. So everything there is going to be brand new. We used to have a 6-lane track. Now for MHSAA rules to host a meet, you have to have 8 lanes. So we're giving our students the opportunity to have home track meets again. Really important. New bleachers, new press box. A press box that's actually centered on the 50-yard line, which is really exciting. The old one was not. And it was always awkward when you had like opposing coaches in the same press box and like they could hear each other. Yeah, it was a mess. So new front secure entrance at the bottom right. So before, kind of like at Saugatuck High School, you could get buzzed in, that was your security, but then at that point you didn't have to go to the office. You could go anywhere in that high school. Same at Fenville. So now you actually have to physically step into that office to then be buzzed into the building itself. So all of our buildings on campus will have safe office additions added onto them. That's the high school one. And then a waitlisting facility on the left. That had always been the wandering room in the high school. Sometimes it was above the locker room, sometimes it was in a random classroom, then you had like sweaty kids running up and down the halls. Now it's right across from the locker rooms. Perfect. On the other side, our band program has around 100 students now, so it's been growing exponentially. So we built a brand new band space that's both like functional for them and also safe for them too. When you have 100 kids making music, that's a big deal. Now, right now, the band in the choir room, and as you see, the locker room on the other side are being used as classrooms. There are biggest rooms in the building. We can safely space students out. Band is outside this time of year anyways, and if you've driven by our schools, we have these huge tents outside of them that we've been using as outdoor classrooms and expanded lunchroom spaces. So those 2 programs have been rehearsing under there anyways, so it's been working out really great. Top right corner, the new welcome desk. Welcome bienvenidos. Again, 54% of the federal students now are Hispanic, so we're a majority school district, just creating a welcoming environment for them. We're the most diverse school district in Allegan County, and it's almost like an anomaly how diverse we are. Bottom right-hand corner, LED lights. Again, that's something you think about when you're walking through a school, you're like, wow, they've got really nice LED lights. But energy saving, and I didn't include a picture here, but we also put new air filtration systems on the top of the high school, which, looking at where we are now, like, really glad that we have those there. Hospital grade filters throughout our entire district, which is a great thing to have. The picture in the middle is where the old bus garage was. Now you have a clear sight line and more parking, so people don't need to park in the grass. And then things are still under construction, so the picture on the left is our high school media center. It was built for books, and books are casually being reused in different ways. We're using that space in a different way, so we've incorporated kind of some larger classrooms. They're called makerspace, it's a trendy word, where you can have taller tables, larger groups of like 30 to 50 students in there if you have a guest speaker. So really cool things happening. We did a Facebook Live walkthrough. Eventually we're going to have people come and actually visit when we can do that. And I'd like to set it up where we have realtors and business people and then elected officials as well come through. Whether you have any association with the school or not, we'd love to have you on campus. So that's a not so quick update of the bond project. Recreation proposal I promise to make quicker. So the this is actually where we first met your township manager there, which, again, feels like forever ago. It blows my mind. But we have been polling the community over the last couple of years about what we want to do with the future of recreation in our community. As, you know, good elected officials, you want to have a balanced budget every year. And we finally achieved that last year, but it's always a struggle when we have this athletic center on campus. You want to be able to offer that to the community. That's a great asset. But to balance that budget, then we've had to make some educational cuts where we could have maybe cut that from the CAC. You get what I'm saying? So we spend $180,000 out of our general fund to fund a recreation center. And the original idea behind this recreation center when it passed in 2004 was that it would be funded by volunteers. School funding was a little bit different back then, and not a shocker, 16 years later, it's funded completely by the school district out of our general fund. So after talking to the community, we decided we were going to go for a recreation village and just see what their feedback would be on that. What we kind of envision it would be something kind of like what the Saugatuck area does with the school district running a recreation village, and then money becoming available as well for sort of like matching grant sort of a system. So a bulk of that money would go towards operating the CAC, and we'd like to have expanded hours, senior-only times. Seniors don't necessarily appreciate getting kicked by soccer balls, and you got the guys down there playing when they're walking around the track on the dock. So senior-only times. We would like to have $0 membership for senior citizens, recognizing that they are our most vulnerable population. And for some, you know, we've had some who be like, oh, I would gladly pay for membership. So we'd like to establish some sort of like a donation system as well, where, you know, if you want to pay $50 a year and we can put that towards different projects, or a family who might not necessarily be able to afford it, we'd like to, you know, build that up. The school district owns the tennis court on the south side of our property. Always thought it was the city's for years. It turns out it's ours, so now we get that beautiful, where if you hit a tennis ball, it's literally going to go into a crack. We don't have the money necessarily built up to redo that, but it's used all the time, especially for basketball. We like to put some pickleball courts in there. This recreation village would be able to kind of serve as a fun balance to do that. Reintroduce summer parks programs for our students. And again, like when I think about what we can do, you know, when we went for this bond, I'm sorry I'm talking a lot. When we went for this bond, one of the complaints was, we wish this money would go into the classroom. That's a really good complaint, right? You're building infrastructure with bonds, you can't spend that on personnel. This is something that will directly be able to add personnel to our school district. And when I think about the population that we serve, so about 25% of our students speak English as a second language, about 71% of our students are free and reduced lunch, and now that Fenville is 100%, we qualify where all of our students get free lunch and breakfast, so we have a lot of families who don't even fill that out anymore, that form. So I'd anticipate it's actually much higher than that. When I think about those two things, and then, you know, I'm looking at the Realtor website every single day, just looking at houses that are up for sale and whatnot, that's just my hobby. And I see, like, you know, they show the school rankings. I hate school rankings so much, but Fenville used to be 2s and 3s. Like, probably when I started on the board, and definitely when I was in high school in 2011. We're 4s and 5s now. So we're making that bump. Like, our color is green now. Like, that's a big deal, right? We used to be oranges and reds. So the ability to be able to put in, you know, $150,000, $180,000, and give a great recreation program for our community, like, I view it as a win-win. And I know that the community has been very, very generous with us. They passed our bond on the first try, and you feel guilty going out and asking for more, right? But when I think of the one thing that, like, I can do less on this board, it's getting this class to be able to put that money back in. $150,000 is 3 teachers. That's, you know, 4 or 5 parapros, however you want to see it. You know, we'd like to have a Spanish immersion kind of curriculum throughout our elementary school to support those students. Like, there's so many things we could do with that. So we're going to put it out there, and we're going to see what the community says. Just wanted to fill you all in case anyone has any questions.
Thank you.
Talked a lot. Thank you for letting me go over
I'm just curious if you know, what percentage of Fenville's all students are school choice?
That's a great question, and I don't know.
Okay.
Are you talking about students who leave Fenville or students who come in?
Well, I was asking, like, coming in.
Coming in, yep, so we lose students to Saugatuck School District, we gain students from Bloomingdale School District.
Okay.
I don't know what that offset
Right.
looks like.